Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing the process for cherry popsicle painting that I created using a new set of heavy-bodied acrylics that I painted a couple of weeks ago. And as you see me work on this painting, I'm going to be talking about the main differences between oils and acrylics. I really wanted to create this video because I feel it would have really helped me know these things in the beginning when I was first starting out and trying to decide on which supplies to invest in. Both of these painting mediums have their own sets of advantages and disadvantages, and it's really going to be up to you to find yourself artistically, to find the kind of style that you want to create, and it's really going to depend on your own way of working, what you like, what you don't like, and your own personal life situation in general, that is going to allow you to finally come to a conclusion of which one you like best. But hopefully this information will help clear up some questions and will also help you come to a quicker decision so that you can get on with progressing your painting skills. Alright, so before I get started, I just want to send out a huge welcome to all you new people just visiting my channel today for the very first time. I am super happy you're here. Consider subscribing because every single Friday I share a new video with art tips, drawing and painting tutorials, and encouragement for aspiring artists. And I also want to send out a huge thank you to all you people that have joined my new site over on Patreon. Thank you Charlotte, Lisa, Ian, Frank, Destiny, Debbie, Belinda, and Angie. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. It's because of you that I'm able to continue creating these videos. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So to begin with a little bit of history, artists have been using oil paint for over 500 years. On the other hand, acrylics were created in the middle of the 20th century as a sort of practical substitute for oil paint. In this time, acrylic paint has really proven to be very practical and versatile, and many artists even made the switch from oils to acrylics due to this very thing. However, there are pros and cons to everything, and a lot of artists' hearts will forever be with oils because of the richness, the vibrancy, and the depth that they are able to provide. Both of these painting mediums can be used to create either high levels of realism or more impressionistic types of paintings, or even more illustrative, stylized type of work. It's just a matter of learning the specific techniques that are going to allow you to create these effects. Alright, so moving on to the first kind of main distinction between acrylics and oils, and this is their drying time. Acrylics dry fast, which means that we have to work fast if we want to create gradients or blending effects. Acrylic paint can literally dry in minutes, depending on the humidity and the temperature of the room that you're working in. On the other hand, oil paint dries very, very slowly, which means that you can take your sweet time moving that paint around and blending out whatever you want. This said, it can take an oil painting months upon months to dry completely, depending on the thickness of your layers. So if you're intending to varnish your paintings, it's gonna be a while before you're able to do that. There are mediums that you can add to either acrylics or oils during the painting process to make the paint dry slower or faster depending on your needs. So you're always going to be able to manipulate either of these painting mediums, both in terms of your painting process as well as the overall outcome, but it is going to entail you buy that painting medium, an extra cost. Moving on to point number 2 in this list, and in this one we're comparing acrylics to oils in terms of how expensive it is to paint with either of these mediums. So generally speaking, painting with acrylics is going to be cheaper than painting with oils. Not only because the paint in and of itself tends to be cheaper, but also because we require less supplies. When you're painting with acrylics, really all you need is your paint, water, paintbrushes, a paint mixing palette, and some kind of substrate, which can even be paper. On the other hand, when it comes to painting with oils, we need paint, we need some kind of solvent to thin out our paint and clean our supplies, a paint mixing palette, some kind of substrate that has been prepared to take on oil paint because otherwise the oil paint will eat into the material, which is where the gesso comes in. And finally, most artists painting with oils use some kind of medium like liquid or others to change the consistency and the drying time of their paint throughout the painting process. However, you should know that there are oil painters out there that don't use mediums at all and have even found a way to avoid the use of solvents. I'm going to be leaving you a couple of links to check out down below in the description box created by oil painters that avoid the use of mediums or solvents or both. I really wanted to share these videos with you guys in case you've avoided painting with oils due to the toxicity of some of the substances involved, because there are always ways around this kind of thing. Moving on to point number 3 in this list, and in this one we're comparing acrylics to oils in terms of their toxicity or the health risks involved in painting with these two mediums. So it's very well known, and a lot of people avoid painting with oils precisely because the process entails using solvents and mediums, which can be harmful to our health if we're not careful, as well as to the environment if we don't know how to dispose of these substances. And while this is certainly true, and you have to be very careful, make sure that you're working in a well-ventilated room, that you're wearing gloves and avoiding having chemicals as well as the paint in itself touching your skin. And you also have to be responsible and learn how to best dispose of used solvent. Sometimes waste collection services accept them. Other times you have to take them to some sort of hazardous waste sites, but you have to learn how it works in your own city. Whatever it is, never throw used solvent down the drain or even into your toilet, because that's a big no-no. Something that you should definitely know is that oil paint in and of itself isn't any more toxic than acrylic paint. And you should also know that there are brands like Gamblin that are working on producing non-toxic solvents and mediums for us to use. Oil paint is composed of pigment that is suspended in an oil-based binder such as linseed oil, safflower oil, poppy oil, or walnut oil. Even though these oils are heavily refined, they are all plant-based and non-toxic. On the other hand, acrylic paint consists of pigments and also a synthetic resin binder. And the components within this synthetic resin binder really vary from brand to brand. It's a common misconception that acrylic paint is less toxic than oil paint. Oil paint in itself isn't any more harmful than acrylic paint. The solvents and the mediums that you add to it are. Acrylic paint is basically plastic, and when we use it, chemicals evaporate into the air, and we basically breathe in ammonia and other harmful chemicals. And there are specific pigments that are highly toxic, like cadmium red, orange, and yellow, that are very toxic whether you're using acrylic paint or oil paint or even watercolors. So just to finish up this section, even though painting with acrylics isn't as smelly as painting with oils, you definitely need to exercise precaution and safety measures with both. Moving on to point number 4 in this list, and in this one I'm talking about the difference in terms of the process of painting with acrylics versus painting with oils. Now, there are many different ways of going about using these two painting mediums, and it all depends really on the overall style that you're going for. I personally really enjoy painting a la prima, which basically means wet on wet, with both of these painting mediums. But the thing is that I go about it in a slightly different way and have to make sure that I do certain things depending on the medium on hand. But if you're looking to create very high levels of realism through a development of a lot of layers, this can also be done in either painting medium. So because acrylics dry so fast, you can basically create a large amount of layers in one sitting and already develop a wide range of effects and details in a matter of hours. On the other hand, when you're working with oils, you have to wait several days, if not weeks, for each layer to dry completely before applying the next. Otherwise, you risk cracking. And another very important thing is that when you're working with oils, you need to follow the fat over lean rule, which basically means that the earlier layers of your painting have to be thinner and have to contain less oil. And then as you move forward with your process, the later ones are thicker and have more oil. This rule is especially important if you're intending on painting in layers, as it's going to ensure that your paint doesn't crack. One very cool thing that lots of artists do is combine the two painting mediums in one same painting by creating the initial underpainting or even the first layers of the painting using acrylics. and then move on to oils to further develop details and textures, etc. You can use oils over dry acrylics, but never ever ever use acrylics over oils. And finally, we're moving on to point number 5 in this list, which is in relation to the overall look or finish of acrylics versus oils. Because oil paint contains more pigment than acrylic paint, colors in oil paintings usually look a lot richer, more vibrant, and more velvety. They are also pretty glossy. Oil paints also lend themselves to create very beautiful, palpable textures if that is what the artist is intending to create. This said, even though oil paintings can last a very, very long time if they have been created with quality supplies and following correct methods, they do tend to fade over time. It'll be years and years before this happens though. Acrylic paintings, on the other hand, usually look a lot more matte when compared to oil paintings, and colors tend to flatten and become darker as the drying process occurs. However, once this drying process completes and that initial color change happens, colors don't change after that much. And as far as texture goes, you're gonna be able to find both acrylic and oil paintings that are very smooth, as well as highly texturized. Oil paint really lends itself to very easily create highly texturized paintings. But lots of acrylic painters are also able to create a beautiful texture by adding texture mediums to their paint mixtures, and they can also create impasto-like effects by creating heavy applications of paint using a painting knife or something of the sort. And finally, the overall finish of both acrylic and oil paintings can be altered by using different types of varnishes, whether you want to make it more matte or more glossy. Alright, so which of the two painting mediums is best for you? Well, that is definitely going to depend on your personal circumstances, as well as your tastes and what you're looking to improve upon. If you're a very busy person and you don't have much time to create art, or you don't have a designated space to create your art in, or maybe you have kids running around or pets running around, it's probably going to be best for you to go with acrylics just because they're more practical, easy to clean, and they generally don't create much of a mess or as much as a mess as oils. However, do make sure that you're always working in a well-ventilated room and taking precautions. But if you do have a space to work in that is well ventilated, that you can work for hours on end, or maybe you want to learn more classic type techniques, or you really care about the depth of your paintings of color and texture, and you're not so sensitive to strong smells and things like that, then I would definitely explore oils. Alright you guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you found this helpful. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comment section below. If you have already experienced either or both of these painting mediums, I would absolutely love to hear your opinion. Let me know which one of these you prefer and why. And if you haven't explored either of the two, then let me know which one you're interested in getting into. Thank you guys so much for watching. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Don't forget to give me a like because it really helps my content get in front of more people. And see you next Friday. Bye!